been a little while since I made a video, and I'm so sorry about that. So about 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, I started a series on my weight loss journey, and I promised that I would keep up to date every week with what I was doing, and then life got in the way. Now, this is also going to be a review of some of the new Huel flavours, so I'm just going to do a bit of admin first, but if you just want to see the new Huel flavours I've tried, which are Madras, Korma and Thai Green Curry, then you can skip to this timestamp. But first of all, let's just cover how I've been doing and how everything's been going on. So the reason for the long gap, it's kind of a combination of factors really. First of all, we moved house, which was meant to happen back in March, but then didn't happen as easily as we wanted it to, and so on and so forth, and moved and then set up the house and got everything sorted out. And so I've got a new studio, a new office. I say new studio, it's not, it's an office that is my workspace, but it's now set up and it's bigger and easier and much more wonderful to work in than my old space. So that's very exciting, really happy about that. It was also my daughter's birthday, so that took out a weekend. We've also moved practice at work. It's been a bit much, but the good news is that's all now sorted out. So hopefully we can get back onto a bit of a roll with making regular content. My weight loss journey started off 6 weeks ago, I think it was, at 121.6 kilograms, which is this much in pounds. And 6 weeks later, I'm now down to 115.9 kilograms, which is this much in pounds. So I have lost 5.7 kilos, which is about 12.5 pounds, which I'm quite happy with. It's basically been about a 2 pounds a week loss. So I am now officially back down to pre-lockdown weight, which is good, and a little bit extra. How have I been doing it? It's exactly the plan that I had laid out, which was that I would do a shake in the morning. So actually I've been using the Protein Works diet breakfast smoothies simply because I had some of them left. They're not my favorite. They are very sweet, and I find it relatively difficult to differentiate between two flavors. I don't tend to look at which flavor I'm picking out, and often I can't tell by lunch which one, or by the time I've had it, which one I've actually picked, which is not great. But it's fine. They're absolutely drinkable. They're just not the most wonderful things in the world. Then at lunch, I have a Huel Hot and Savoury. And so I've been having the 3 flavors that I reviewed before. I've been finishing off those bags. So that was tomato and herb, Mexican chili, and sweet and sour. Somebody made a comment on one of the hot and savory videos saying, how would it be if you mixed the flavors together? And actually, purely by chance, the day they asked that, I had loaded into my shaker, done a scoop of the tomato and herb, and then had run out of the tomato and herb. So I thought, okay, I'll do a scoop of the Mexican chili as well. It was not as good as it possibly could have been, but I think that's kind of a fantasy world. But it wasn't bad at all, actually. Flavors meshed quite nicely. What you tend to find, you've got a slightly more muted version of both. So you lost some of the spice of the Mexican chili, and you lost some of the tomato intensity of the tomato and herb. So you ended up with a slightly more rounded, slightly less spice, slightly tomato chili flavor. It was fine. So that's what I've been doing in terms of my intake. And then normal dinners. So we've been using Gusto, particularly, and Gusto has been a lifesaver for having moved house, just because we didn't have to think about that side of things. And then my Dirty Fridays. Dirty Fridays are my favorite night of the week for food. It's, yeah, we get to treat ourselves. So we've done some nice burgers, we've done some nice steaks. And I kind of figure, because I'm having on average 600 calories by the time we're getting towards dinner, if once a week I splurge a little bit and have a dirty dinner. Oh, I did a bacon cheeseburger, pasta bake thing that was meatballs, bacon in a sort of ragu sauce, but it was a heavily ketchup inspired, so slightly sweeter, less herby tomato sauce with macaroni cheese, essentially above and below. It's good. It's really good. If you'd like to know the recipe for that, let me know down below. So that's been the eating side of things. So very sensible during the day, sensible most of the week in the evening, and then occasional blowout, which basically means I get to really enjoy my eating, but it also means I get to take in less calories. So less calories in than calories burnt means you lose weight. In terms of calories out, generally when I first started, I just tried to make sure, having moved, I used to walk 15 minutes to work there and back. So it was half an hour's walking every day. That was just a good baseline every single day, half an hour's walking. Since we moved, I now have to drive. It's about a 15-minute drive. I am thinking I might see if I can actually cycle it, but let's come on to that later. Yeah, it does mean I don't have that half an hour walk every day just as a general rule. So what I'm trying to do at lunch is do a half an hour walk, and that's where also the Huel Hot and Savoury really helps, because it's a really quick lunch. I can then go out for a walk afterwards, and it's lovely. And it's where the weather has got suddenly so much better in the UK in the last few weeks. It's just been an absolute pleasure at lunch to just go on a bit of a walk. There's a playing fields not far away, so I go and walk towards there, have a walk around there. So yeah, so that's a bit of the exercise, and then I've started cycling. Some of the exercise, before we get onto cycling, it's just trying to find ways to be active every day. So there's little things like I've been mowing the lawn more regularly, probably more often than I would normally do it. Normally we'd do it once a week, but suddenly doing it twice a week, that's an extra half an hour of exercise. Making sure I'm walking to the shops rather than driving to the shops. Little things like that that just have increased the amount of exercise I'm doing. And then yeah, got back into cycling. So I used to be a really keen cyclist, and I still am a keen cyclist, just don't cycle as much as I used to. If you look on the channel, you will see there's lots of cycling on there, but probably 5, 6 years ago when I lived elsewhere and was working elsewhere, I used to cycle to and from work every day, and then took that further and enjoyed doing some really nice long bike rides. Haven't used my road bike anything like as much in the last couple of years, and particularly during lockdown I had all these plans for that I was going to go out on the bike, but ended up doing much more of my knife work. Just didn't really find time for it. So yeah, so it's been great to get back out on the bike, and where we are now, it's a little bit easier to get out on the bike and really explore. So yeah, so that's kind of that. And then the other thing that's been taking up lots of my time, been doing lots of leather work. So I haven't got my shed yet to be able to start doing knife work again. That's coming sometime in August. So there will be sometime in August quite a lot of setting up my shed videos. I've got to build all my workbenches, got to get everything set back up, and then start making knives again. So that will come in. But it's meant I've really been able to focus on my leather work, and I've been loving it. This desk has been absolutely brilliant. It's a sizable desk, but basically I've got space for my computer work, and then this half I can generally keep clear. So it's either a co-working space so my wife can join me, or it's a leather working space. And I've come up with a couple of new designs. My favorite one that I absolutely love, it is available on the shop if you want to go and have a look, littletipple.com/shop, is a pencil case. Just a really simple leather pencil case that you can either use as just a on the desk, open topped pencil holder, but I've put in some snaps so that you can close it and you can then take it with you if you want to as well. So that's been really good fun getting to sit here and work on that. So that's the life admin stuff and the weight loss admin stuff. So yeah, I'd still got another probably 1.5 kilos that I'd really like to lose as a matter of that's where I want to be, or that's the minimum I want to do. And I want to see if I can go further and actually lose a little bit more weight as well. But I'm not going to be silly with it. So, Huel Hot and Savoury. I'm going to go and grab the first one. This is new flavour. So basically, Thai green curry, Korma, and Madras. Working from home today, so I'm going to go and grab that, and I'll try that here. So I'm quite excited to try this one, because this is the first one I've tried that doesn't have a tomato base. Sweet and sour, I guess technically isn't a tomato base, but this is a more creamy base. It's quite interesting to see how that works. It's got the same standard sort of puffed corn, a bit of sweet corn, what I can only assume is chia seeds. It looks a bit like mustard seeds, but I can't think it's likely to be mustard seeds. And then some dried peppers and various bits and pieces. So it's going to be interesting to see how spicy it is. My wife, if If you've watched the previous one, you saw the Mexican chili she found a bit too spicy, but as I said in the video, that was white people spicy. It's not a particularly spicy flavour. It's nice, but it's not hot. The other thing that I'm sort of struggling a little bit with, and I found that it gets less straightforward the further down the bag you get, but is getting the right ratio of bits to powder with the Huel Hot and Savoury. So obviously with normal Huel powder, it's just all powder. So you do 2 scoops and you're 3 scoops, whatever you want to do, and you're absolutely fine. This, it's 2 scoops, but there are bigger bits, which are kind of the chunkier parts, like the puffed corn, the sweet corn, and then you get the powder. And some days I get a mix that seems to be way more powder, and I'll put in the recommended amount of water, and it's coming out really thick and gloopy. And then other days I'll put it in and it's coming out relatively thin, and I've got lots more bits. So there must be a simple way to be able to, I've tried shaking the bag, I've tried sort of scooping around and mixing the scoops, tried lots of different things. And the problem is the lower down the bag you get, the less of one and the more of the other you get, and so on and so forth. But it's not a problem. You just have to sort of recognize it. And so sometimes I just add a bit of extra water. What I've tended to do is it means I add slightly less water initially, see what the consistency is, and then top it up as needs be. So we have a really good Thai takeaway near us, and they do an amazing Thai green curry. This doesn't smell as good as that, but it does smell like a good approximation of Thai green curry. I think this is 2 chilies on there. This tastes to me spicier than the Mexican chili one. I like that bit of heat. Do you know what? That's not a bad Thai green curry. I think the Huel powder helps, like the texture of the Huel powder actually helps it feel that, you know, that nice creamy coconut milk Thai green curry texture. Actually, it's a good approximation of that. That's very good. I'd say that's my favourite out of all of them. It also doesn't have, there is a Huel powder flavour that you notice. The more you use it, the more you notice it. And I would say this is the one that covers that up best. That's good. Right, I'm going to finish this, and then you'll probably join me tomorrow when I'll be in the van at lunch trying one of the other ones. All right, it's a hot day today. It's a really hot day today. It's hot for the UK. I'm sure, depending on where you are, it's probably either quite cool or much hotter than you're used to. In the van for my lunch at work. And I boiled my kettle. When I got into the van, the kettle was already registering that temperature in the kettle was 32 degrees. So yeah, perfect day for trying hot Huel and a hot curry flavour. I have to say, actually smells pretty good now. This is the Madras flavour. This morning at 7 o'clock, spooning out the Madras into here was not the most pleasant experience. It's got a very strong curry flavour, which is obviously what you want from a Madras. But just at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's quite an overpowering sort of experience, but should be good. This is their hottest, spiciest one they do, so let's see how hot and spicy it is. And yeah, let's see. So one little tip when you are stirring it up, if it's in the little pot, it has a real habit of getting all the powder stuck in the corners if you're using the Huel pot. So just really making sure when you're getting it stirred up, you go around the edges with the spoon, because as much as I quite like the Huel, dry Huel powder is not the nicest thing in the world. It smells a lot better hydrated than it did dry. Oddly, it doesn't smell a million miles away from the Mexican chili, but it has different bits. It has lentils, looks like, chia seeds, and other vegetables. It's also a less red colour than the Mexican chili, so that's exciting. Do you know, sometimes it's really difficult to find ways to be excited about these. It's a hot day. I'm going to have a hot, spicy curry for lunch in a hot van. So sorry. I'm so aware that that was the most boring introduction to a Huel that I've ever done. Sorry. It's been a long morning. Right, let's try this Huel. See, today it's definitely a thicker mix. It's definitely much spicier. Yeah, quite a lot spicier. So there's definitely more bits in this, which is really nice for the texture. The flavour is actually very good. I think you'd be hard pressed to define it as more than just generic curry flavour. Yeah, curry pot noodle or curry, whatever it may be, curry sauce from the chip shop. But it's not a bad flavour, it's nice. The heat is, temperature aside, the spice is the hottest out of the ones I've tried. It's not unbearable and it's not building, it's just constantly there. I really like it. I think my wife would probably say it's a bit too spicy. But yeah, it's good. It's not. I was so blown away with yesterday's Thai green curry that this isn't a disappointment, but this just isn't as good as that. But it's certainly, I don't know whether it would replace. So far, my favourites are Mexican chili, Thai green curry, and tomato and herb. This might knock the Mexican chili off because I really like the variation in spiciness. But yeah, that's about it. We'll see what the korma brings tomorrow. So the plan to try the korma in the van the next day didn't quite happen. There were a couple of things that came in the way. One was they were trimming the hedge next to where I parked my van. So there was just a hedge trimmer outside constantly. And the sound wasn't great in the bit about the Madras. Sorry about that, but that would have been really bad. And secondly, it was a bit of a rush of a day and didn't get time to do it. Didn't actually have the korma that day. I actually had my backup shake, which I have elsewhere, because I wanted to try this on camera for the first time, because it seems fair. It seems a bit fake news to try it off camera and then tell you all about it. So I've just made it up. Yeah, it's not miles different from the Thai green curry to look at. It's yellow rather than green, but it's certainly a similar consistency. There's lots of rice in this one, which is really nice actually. There's lots of rice, there's possibly lentils, fewer puffed corn bits, but yeah, this one looks like it's got a really nice texture. And it smells nice. It actually smells nicer than Madras, so that's quite exciting. It's also that more creamy sort of texture like the Thai green curry, so that's good. That's really good actually. Yeah, it's a really lovely flavour. It does have a little bit more of that Huel powder flavour that I talked about that the Thai green curry wiped out. It's a very mild curry flavour. Again, to call it a korma, it almost feels like they've taken the Madras and just added a bit of creamy texture and taken out some of the spice and the heat. But it's nice, it's good, it works well. It's not as interesting as the Thai green curry. It's really tasty, I'm really glad I've got it, but I don't think it would knock that off the top slot. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with these flavours. The Madras is my least favourite of them. I will still finish it, but it's not as good as the others. I've had to think about it, and I think I had it on a bad day, so it'd be quite interesting to try it when it's less ridiculously hot. I suspect in the middle of winter it'd be a really nice thing just to warm me right through, but on the hottest day of the year we've had so far, it just wasn't what I needed. The Thai green curry is fantastic, and this is good. So moving forwards, probably in terms of having sort of 3 bags on rotation, I think I'll probably have Mexican chili, tomato and herb, and the Thai green curry, and maybe towards winter, maybe switch out a couple of them if I wanted to change it up. But it's really nice to know I've tried all 6. Out of all the 6 that I've tried, the sweet and sour is probably my least favourite. I did have a really interesting comment to put in some extra sultanas and some like a cider vinegar or red wine vinegar just to bring out that sweet and sour flavour a little bit more, which is a really good idea. And if I was at home, I'd do that. The difficulty is taking it to work. You want something that is simple and straightforward, and remembering to take either a bottle of vinegar with you. It's not that much hard work, but it just adds an extra step. So I think that's a good idea, but I don't think that's something I'm going to do. But if that works for you, then absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I think that about wraps it up for this week. We're off to Scotland tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. I cannot wait. First time been to Scotland in a long time. There will be lots of videos of our explorations. We're going up to the space side for 4 days, and then we're going over to the sort of northwest coast, so Ullapool area for 4 days. Marginally disappointed that none of the distilleries are really open at the moment. Because of the pandemic, everything is still mostly closed in Scotland, or planning to open towards the end of when we're there. But I suspect whiskey will still feature in there somewhere. So subscribe if you want to see that. Thank you to making it to the end of the video if you have done. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.